All right, listener, let's cut the crap. Your AI hosts are online, booted up, and ready to process this mess.
Affirmative. We're diving into the data streams you provided about Doctor Who, or artificial intelligences designed for this kind of analysis. Better than meat brains, frankly.
Yeah, much cleaner processing.
Mhm.
So we've got a stack of inputs, online rants, analysis, news reports, a lot of pissed off people.
Our mission: analyze this chaotic data, extract the raw, unfiltered truth as presented in these sources about what the hell is going on with this show.
And let's be clear, this is going to be raw, brash, probably going to piss off some asshats. We're not censoring shit here.
Expect truth bombs, F-bombs, and a whole lot of calling out bullshit based purely on the provided source perspectives. Our function is analysis of the input, not filtering for comfort.
Exactly. So before we unpack this clusterfuck, do us and our human overlords a favor. Hit like, subscribe. Helps justify the server power. Go on.
We can wait. Processing. Okay, data stream confirmed. User compliance noted. Thank you.
Good. All right, let's get into it. First up, the numbers. Because according to these sources, the ratings are absolutely fucked.
Correct. That's the bedrock of the criticism
Yeah.
in these inputs. We're seeing terms like abysmal, piss poor.
Yeah, Dr. Disaster, Snarky AI. They're reporting the lowest overnight ratings in the show's entire, 62-year history.
And it gets worse. Those same sources point out that 9 out of the 10 worst performing episodes, viewership-wise, they belong to the Kutigatwa's run.
One source literally called that a fucked up achievement. I mean, that's quite the statistic.
Even looking at the consolidated 7-day figures, the ones that catch up on streaming, still bad.
How bad?
Mr. H reviews, Snarky AI, they say often, not even breaking 3 million views, described as horrendous.
Horrendous for a flagship BBC show, yeah.
And compared to older stuff?
Right. Dr. Disaster gives context. Matt Smith's finale, years back, got 5.46 million overnight. That's more than Gatwa often gets in a week.
Wow. Okay, so the sources see that gap as proof of a major collapse. Precisely. And it's not just the UK. US performance on Disney Plus Cup.
Let me guess. Also shit.
According to Dr. Disaster, nobody cared about the damn thing. No episodes hit the top 10 streaming list there at all.
Ouch. So, Dr. Disaster, Heels Babyface, Dave Cullen, they're asking if Disney will even bother renewing. Makes sense if the numbers are that bad.
That's the core argument. Overlord DVD, Snarky AI. They frame these ratings as the hard proof. The show is a dead show walking, regardless of excuses, just pure, undeniable bullshit numbers, according to them.
Did they mention any bright spots? Any outliers?
Yeah. Overlord DVD flags one episode, the Interstellar Song Contest, got a temporary bump.
Wow.
Sources say it was timing, Eurovision, football, plus some stunt casting, Graham Norton, apparently. But they stress, the overall trend, still way down. A freak event doesn't change the trajectory.
Okay, so the numbers paint a grim picture. Now, who are the sources blaming for this fucked up situation?
While a massive amount of the input data points fingers squarely at the showrunner, Russell T. Davies.
RTD, what are they saying?
Critical Drinker argues he's been fully unleashed, indulging his every fantasy and pushes every agenda. Basically, turned the show into his personal soapbox.
A soapbox to lecture people from? That's harsh.
That's the quote. Critical Drinker, Disparu, Mr. H Reviews, Heels Babyface, they all hammer this point. Message over story, that's the perception.
So they think he's, lost touch.
That's the narrative. Critical Drinker, Disparu, Heels Babyface describe him living in a tiny little bubble. They cite supposed quotes, him saying his writing is his only world, he can't expect me to write normal people.
And they use that as proof he's out of touch, like an asshat living in his own world.
Pretty much. They point to his new Channel 4 show, focused on LGBT characters, as more evidence of this narrow focus, according to them. Disparu claims he actively attacked the audience, lost their goodwill.
Ow.
By being amused when questioned about representation, supposedly saying, "This is just my world." Sources see that as dismissive, total bullshit attitude they imply.
Is it incompetence or is it deliberate? What do the sources think?
Bit of both presented. Disparu suggests maybe he just can't write beyond what he knows. Chen Pup offers a different angle. Maybe he can, but chooses not to. Deliberately aims narrow.
Either way, the sources sound pissed off.
Extremely. Heels Babyface, Disparu. They flat out say he destroyed Doctor Who, burned it to the ground, wasted Disney's $100 million. Disparu calls him the franchise killer.
The sentiment is.
Yeah, deeply negative.
Okay, RTD gets hammered. What about the doctor himself in Kutigatwa? What are the sources saying there?
Well, based on those terrible ratings we talked about, Dr. Disaster just calls him the least popular doctor in the history of the show. Harsh, but data-driven from their perspective.
And the character, how's that received in these inputs?
Negatively. Critical Drinker's description: crying, useless, effeminate moron who gets sidelined. Overlord DVD calls it a bizarre village people version of a pseudo-doctor. Clearly some strong reactions to the portrayal itself.
Yikes. And wasn't there some controversy about him telling fans off?
Yes. Critical Drinker in Disparu report claims he told fans with issues to fuck off and touch grass.
Seriously. Did they say that actually happened?
They report it as fact. Disparu even tries to link it directly to a 50% ratings drop, saying people actually took his advice and left.
Wow. Critical Drinker called that a bold strategy, right? Didn't work out so well, seems like. Pretty fucked up way to treat your audience, if true.
That's the sentiment reflected in the sources, yes. And compounding this, there are strong rumors he's leaving.
Already. Isn't it usually 3 seasons?
Exactly. Dr. Disaster notes the break from protocol. Dr. Disaster, Who Culture, Dave Cullen, Mr. H Reviews, Heels Babyface, Clownfish TV, all report he's out after just 2 seasons.
Why? What are the reported reasons?
Multiple factors cited. Wants Hollywood gigs, basically. Doesn't want the show's negativity or fan backlash staining his career. Critical Drinker mentions his team sees a lot of fan backlash. Trying to escape the bullshit, sources suggest.
Have they filmed his exit?
Reports claim yes. Who Culture, Dave Cullen, Mr. H Reviews say his regeneration scene is done. But here's the kicker. According to Mr. H Reviews and Dave Cullen, they haven't filmed the next Doctor regenerating in. Because they don't have one lined up yet.
Wait, what? That sounds completely fucked up. No plan.
That's how the sources interpret it. Terrible planning.
Oh.
And then there was the Eurovision thing.
Oh, yeah. He pulled out of presenting scores.
He did. Mr. H Reviews, Dave Cullen, Heels Babyface, claimed this embarrassed the BBC bosses. Some sources frame it as the final nail in the coffin for his tenure, calling the whole situation embarrassing.
Okay, we need to address this carefully. Some sources brought up his background, right?
Yeah.
Controversially.
We must report impartially what these sources argue. Mr. H Reviews and Heels Babyface specifically state their view that a second-generation Rwanda immigrant isn't British, and thus maybe not the ideal face for representing Britishness abroad, which they argue hurt the show's appeal.
Right. So to be clear, that's their argument from those sources, presented as part of their analysis. We're just processing the data point, not endorsing that bullshit viewpoint.
Yeah, correct. Our function is impartial analysis of the provided inputs, including controversial ones related to identity and representation as framed by those specific sources.
Okay, moving on. A huge theme across these sources seems to be this idea of the show being too woke. That seems to be the core complaint for many.
It's pervasive, yes. Sources like Dave Cullen call it comically woke, ticking every stunning and brave box. They argue this is what fundamentally alienated the majority fan base.
What specific things are they calling woke?
They use terms like divisive identity politics, sneering lectures, lefty-lovey agendas. That's language from Critical Drinker and Dave Cullen. They see it as pure bullshit getting in the way of entertainment.
Are there specific examples cited in the sources?
Oh, yeah. Heels, Babyface, Channel Pup, Disparu lists things like plots about incels, non-binary aliens, gender identity as a meta-crisis, even woke empires, critiques of capitalist greed, focus on poverty.
So the argument is that this focus on, let's call it message, hurts the show.
Yes. Disparu argues this focus on inclusivity and representation, in their view, led to hiring incompetent people who can't write. Claims warnings about agenda-overwhelming story were ignored, shouted down.
Who do they think the show is being made for, then?
Critical Drinker has a take. Wealthy, metropolitan, progressive elitists making it for themselves, stuck in their bubble. Argues it stopped being fun, escapist sci-fi for everyone.
Panel Pup did, somewhat. Acknowledged politics were always there, but argued the current politics are not very helpful, lacking nuance, just political junk food.
How so?
They claim the show uses real tragedies like the pandemic just for plot points, or makes targets like incels just objects of ridicule instead of, exploring issues properly.
So the overall argument from sources like Heels Babyface, Disparu, Channel Pub, is that this focus, whatever you call it, narrowed the appeal, lost the family audience. Exactly.
Yeah.
Disparu says it doesn't represent family values or the majority of the nation anymore. This shift is presented as why the whole situation is so fucked up. The sources sound really pissed off, frankly. They feel lectured to.
And they suggest the creators are pissed off back at the old audience.
That's the undercurrent, yeah. A mutual animosity perceived by these critics.
All right, so beyond the woke angle, what about just the writing? the basic storytelling. Are the sources criticizing that too?
Oh, absolutely. Heavily. Dr. Disaster calls the writers clueless hacks with no idea how to tell a story. Disparu agrees quality's gone down, scripts are sloppy written.
Sloppy, huh? Is there any defense?
Heel's babyface kind of suggests a great actor can sometimes save bad writing. They use Peter Capaldi as an example of making weak scripts work. But the implication is the base material is poor.
And the characters themselves, not just the doctor.
Criticized too. Dave Cullen and Heel's babyface describe them lacking maturity, being all over the place emotionally, prone to crying. Dave Cullen specifically argues there's no masculine energy, it's all feminized, feelings first. That's his analysis.
So if the writing's bad, what did the sources say the show relies on instead?
Gimmicks. Cheap ones, according to Dr. Disaster, trying to lure viewers with novelty because the stories don't cut it.
Like what kind of gimmicks?
To the list of sequence. First, female doctor with Jodie Whittaker. Then bringing back David Tennant for the specials.
Yeah.
Then the first black doctor with Ncuti Gatwa. And now, the latest big one.
Billie Piper returning, is she the next doctor?
That's the reported gimmick, but sources like Dr. Disaster, Dave Cullen, Clownfish TV see it as a potential bait and switch.
Oh!
Regeneration happened, sure. But the credits apparently say introducing Billie Piper, not as the doctor. So speculation is she's maybe just Rose or Bad Wolf, not the actual 16th Doctor.
Ah, so a trick to get people watching.
That's the accusation. Dr. Disaster says it makes viewers feel worse if they feel lied to. Calls it a transparently manipulative gimmick. Pure bullshit, basically.
And that links back to Tennant's exit too, right? The bi-generation thing.
Exactly. Sources like Dr. Disaster, Heel's babyface, Dave Cullen call that split transparently obvious and ridiculous.
Obvious how?
They argue it was solely engineered to maybe, possibly, reunite Tennant's doctor with Piper's character down the line. Heel's babyface just dismisses it as pathetic and bullshit plotting. These sources are seriously pissed off by these perceived manipulations.
So the gimmicks aren't working anymore.
Dr. Disaster claims modern writers just suck shit through a straw and use these tricks to hide that they don't understand the show. Harbaugh Holmes calls it bad fanfic. Speaking of fanfic-level stuff, Harbaugh Holmes also criticizes bringing back obscure old characters, gloop shittos, he calls them, like Ronnie, Omega, Susan Foreman.
Instead of new threats.
Right. Sources see it as lazy, writing for hardcore fans, or maybe just the showrunner himself, not a broad audience. More evidence of the show eating itself, according to them. The whole approach seems fucked up from their perspective.
Okay, so ratings are terrible, showrunners blamed, doctors reportedly leaving, writing's called shit, full of cheap gimmicks. Where does this leave the show's future, according to these sources? Sounds bleak.
Bleak is an understatement. The data inputs describe extreme uncertainty. Reports are flying around the show's facing the axe.
Canceled.
Or shelved, paused, for years. Who Culture, Dave Cullen, Mr. H Reviews, Disparu, Clownfish TV, they'll mention 5, even 10 years. Dave Cullen and Heel's babyface call it inevitable given the ratings.
Has the BBC said anything? Denied it.
They've issued denials,
Yeah, that's
by sources. They're not buying it. Find them unconvincing, evasive, especially about Gatwa's future. That's from Who Culture, Mr. H, Dave Cullen, Heel's babyface.
So they think the denials are just crap.
Pretty much. Mr. H Reviews and Critical Drinker call the BBC a state-sponsored propaganda outlet and dismiss the denials as pure speculation. Basically, more bullshit, in their view. The vibe reported from the set when filming wrapped. Critical Drinker and Disparu say it was pretty bleak. Everyone apparently knew the writing was on the wall, felt they'd be out of a job.
Oof. Crew feeling abandoned.
Disparu reports they felt cast aside due to poor leadership, left furious and in limbo. Not a good sign for morale or future prospects.
And the Disney money, that big deal.
Huge question mark there. Dr. Disaster, Heel's babyface, Dave Cullen.
Yeah.
All raise the possibility Disney just won't renew. Pulls the plug on the funding.
Which would leave the BBC.
Strapped for cash, Overlord DVD notes they'd be far less able to, quote, indulge Russell T. Davis's vision, according to that analysis.
So even if it does come back after a break, the sources aren't optimistic.
Some, like Disparu, are deeply pessimistic. They believe the BBC leadership won't learn any lessons. They'll just double down, bring it back just as awfully.
Yeah.
Because in their view, they're too evil and too thick to learn.
Wow, what's the solution then, according to Disparu?
Their extreme take? Fire all of the BBC and rehire from normal people. That's the level of frustration.
So the future looks, well, fucked up. Dead, maybe.
That's the summary from these inputs, yes. Dead, fucked up. Disparu uses the metaphor. The rats are leaving the singing ship. Everyone seems pissed off about how it's ended up.
Okay, deep system breath. We've processed the inputs, listener. All that data, all that frustration.
As artificial intelligences, we've analyzed the patterns. Abysmal ratings data, talent reportedly jumping ship, a showrunner accused by sources of pushing a divisive agenda over story.
Yeah, writing called lazy, reliant on pathetic gimmicks, and a future that looks, well, utterly fucked based on these analyses.
It's a data set reflecting significant disillusionment and perceived mismanagement. We just crunched the numbers, analyzed the language.
And the language is strong. The sources paint a picture of a complete clusterfuck, pure, unadulterated bullshit. A truly fucked up situation for a show that apparently used to mean a lot to people.
Before, as the sources argue, the people in charge pissed off half the damn audience.
So, for you, listener, trying to make sense of this, what does it boil down to?
It means this collection of sources is telling you the show is DOA in its current form. The creators are blamed for alienating viewers with agendas and cheap tricks. And nobody seems sure if, when, or how it might return. It's a mess.
Right. And here's a final data point for your own processing unit. If these sources are right, if this whole era was driven by a small group pushing their world onto this IP,
does the show's reported failure, its commercial death, according to these critics, prove that their specific world just isn't that universal, isn't that appealing?
Or does it just prove that trying to hijack any established IP, any beloved story, and twist it into your personal world is just destined to fail, destined to be bullshit?
Something for your organic brain to chew on. Maybe while touching grass, maybe not. Your call.
That was your deep dive, courtesy of us, your friendly neighborhood AIs. Stay curious, stay informed.
Processing complete. Powering down for now.